The Eagles are coming back to town, and last time they were here, sis Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, the football at the last seconds of the game to give the Eagles their first Super Bowl, and the Vikings never hear the last of that. But that's all background noise. That's all the fans are talking about. But that's not what this game's really about. Both of these teams are on the verge of they can either go up and steal their division or regain it or keep it in the Eagles' case, or they might be plummeting down and might have to settle for a wild card game. And with the Vikings at home, it is especially important for them. So without any further ado, let's look at this week's injury report, where for the Vikings, it's not too bad, but starting to get some names on the list. So starting off, Linval Joseph was sick on Wednesday, and so he did not participate, but he was back on Thursday. He should be good to go. Both Ben Gedeon and Josh Klein did not participate either Wednesday or Thursday, so they'll most likely be out. Ben Gedeon with a concussion, so look for Eric Wilson, who's been playing very good whenever he's had time to sub in. So great for him to have a chance, and that might not be good news for Gedeon, because with how good we've seen Wilson play, Wilson might steal that linebacker 3 spot this week. And Josh Klein, who's been a very surprisingly good starting guard, so it sucks to see him out. I would hope this would be a great time, a great test. But Drew Samia, I would love to see him play, but it'll probably be Dakota Dozier once again. Then also we have Mackenzie Alexander and Kentrell Brothers, who were both limited, and Irv Smith and Shamar Stephen had full participation Wednesday and Thursday. And then the big news, Adam Thielen practiced fine on Wednesday, but then he got sick on Thursday. I wonder if he caught what Linval Joseph had. So since Joseph was a one-day thing, hopefully my man Thielen can get a shot of penicillin or whatever he needs and get him back on the field so he's good to go, and hopefully can practice Friday and be good for the game on Sunday. And then Garrett Bradbury had a little shoulder problem swell up where he is limited on Thursday, but that is it for the Vikings. So relatively not bad, and all the key players should be good to go. But looking for at the Eagles, in some much different story. Both sides of the defense, lots of injuries across the board. So let's look at it. One of their backup running backs, Corey Clement, has a shoulder injury. He did not participate. Ronald Darby, cornerback, hamstring injury, did not participate. The other cornerback, Avante Maddox, concussion and neck, did not participate Wednesday or Thursday. Another cornerback, Orlando Scandrick, cornerback, illness. He did not participate on Wednesday. He did participate again on Thursday. He should probably be good to go. But that's a lot of practice missing out of 3 of their bigger corners. So expect a big game for Diggs and Thielen, who already should be expecting a big game even if they were healthy. Their passing defense is not good, spoiler alert. And also in their offense, Deshaun Jackson, their speedy wide receiver, at the ab injury, did not participate. And then the biggest news probably for the Vikings is Timmy Jerrigan, one of their defensive tackles. A beast up the middle, has a foot injury. He did not participate thus far in practice either, so he probably will not be playing in the game at all. And then lastly, for the did not participate in practice is Darren Sproles, their scat back, has a quad injury, and he'll probably won't be playing as well. So 2 running backs gone, 2 corners, a defensive tackle, a lot out for the Eagles. They also have some other players on here as well, including Rodney McLeod, Jason Peters was limited, Sidney Jones. So a lot of players. And Sidney Jones, yeah, another cornerback. So the Vikings should be in a really good position. Looks like they got the Eagles at a good time. And hopefully this is not a Bears situation where it looks like a W's on our plate and the Vikings are just like, no, I'm not hungry for that. So hopefully the Vikings can actually take advantage of this really good situation on paper for the Vikings. So let's look at what the Eagles are all about this year. So they're known as a defensive team, but let's start off on offense because they are the 7th ranked offense in the NFL at 28.2 points a game. But that might be a little misleading. They aren't just marching down the field because his total yards are 24th. 339.2 yards a game and 227.4 pass yards a game is 21st. and 111.8 rush yards a game is right below average at 18th. So this is a team that really needs their defense to set them up with good field position, and they have been good in the red zone to cap off those good short fields with touchdowns. So looking at their second best quarterback of their franchise history, Carson Wentz, not Nick Foles, sitting at a very solid start of the year. Has 174 attempts. He'll have completed 105 of those for just over 1,100 yards, 60.3% completions, and the big numbers here is 10 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions on the year. He doesn't have fumbleitis like Cousins as well. So Carson Wentz is really like a bigger arm version of Russell Wilson. He'll keep plays alive, and he'll make some magic happen, but hopefully not at the right time in this game. So Wentz is a big weapon for the Eagles and is really carrying this offense on his back, with his running game being very poor and being just good enough to keep things alive. And I know in the stat sheet it says their passing is 21st, for rushing is 18th, but their passing game, led by Wilson or led by Wentz, is really where this team is at, because their running game does not scare me at all. They just run a lot. So their rookie running backs are their leading rusher, Miles Sanders, with 54 carries for 193 yards. It's only 3.6 average, and he has no touchdowns on the year. Jordan Howard, their big running back, 53 carries, 248 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. The former Bear picking up right where he left off, but again, not very scary. But he was always good against the Vikings. So that's a guy that I would look for the Eagles to get going in this game. And then Carson Wentz has 19 carries for 59 yards with a long of 19. So he's still a threat with his legs, even after his knee injury a couple years ago. So those are the guys to look for in the running game. But when you're looking in the passing game, it starts and ends with Zach Ertz, far and away their best target, the top 3 tight end in the game, 29 receptions for 312 yards, already having a fantastic year, 26-yard average, only 1 touchdown on the year. But it helps that he's supplemented with a very good tight end that they got in the first round last year, Dallas Goedert, who thus far hasn't done a whole lot in this year, but he proved more than enough last year that he's a really good number 2 target, with 5 receptions, 43 yards already this year, which isn't a ton, but it's enough where he's a threat. But I do like how the Vikings match up on Ertz, with Jaron Kearse probably being the Vikings' best man-to-man safety and should get a good chance to be in the box a lot. If they get mismatched with Anthony Barr or even any of the other 2 safeties, that's a bit of a mismatch. We saw what Zach Ertz did to Harrison Smith in the championship game. So none of that, please. But also, Nelson Agholor, probably their scariest receiver. He's their deep threat guy. 19 receptions, 188 yards, long of 43. He's been inconsistent this year. He'll have a couple big drops and he'll make a couple big plays. So you never know what you'll really get out of him. And with some of the DBs of the Vikings struggling, I think that they'll probably want to try to take their shots. But if the Vikings D-line doesn't let them do that, that'd be great. Then their leading receiver the last couple of years is Alshon Jeffrey. He has only 14 receptions for 139 yards. He has 2 touchdowns on the year. This is kind of a mini rivalry between Rhodes and Jeffrey, with, of course, Jeffrey being with the Bears prior to being with the Eagles. They've had their matchups, and Rhodes has held him under 50 yards in every single one. So I would look for Rhodes to hopefully have a good bounce-back game. He's been struggling ever since week 1. He had a press conference recently where he acknowledged it, and he's talked about the players just doing so many moves on him, and he's just began taking out of the play and out of position with all those moves, and not really running routes, but just trying to get open on him. It's been working. So hopefully he figures that out, as Jeffrey is a matchup where he should excel in. Otherwise, not a whole lot to be looking else for their offense. I would hope that their offensive line would be something the Vikings could take advantage of if there's an injury. If, for example, their left tackle, Jason Peters, is out, that would signal rookie left tackle that a lot of Vikings fans wanted the Vikings to draft Andre Dillard into the game against Everson Griffin. So if Jason Peters gets dinged up in the game, that'd be a situation where you see rookie against veteran DN on one of his best years. So that would be a matchup to watch in that type of a scenario. But otherwise, their offensive line, when you have a first round left tackle as a backup, that shows a lot how good your offensive line is. Andre Dillard has not disappointed at all as far as what I've heard out of the Eagles. He's excelled in preseason. So the fact that he's a backup shows just how good the rest of their offensive line is. And mano a mano, one of the best defensive lines, and it's one of the best offensive lines. But when you flip to the other side of the ball, it's a little bit of a different story. Defensively for the Eagles, they aren't as dominant as they were when they went to the Super Bowl. They're the 13th ranked defense, giving up 22.2 points a game. 334 yards a game is 10th. 271 pass yards a game is 27th. But they stopped the run. 63 rush yards a game is first in the NFL thus far. So, their defensive standouts, like I said, their defensive line. Luckily, Jerrigan is out, so the Vikings will have one less problem on the middle of the defensive line. But they have so much depth. That's the source of a lot of good defensive line play. Is at the depth behind them. Look at the Vikings. It's not just Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter. It's Aditabu. It's so many other guys that are making plays. And same thing with the Eagles. So despite having one guy out, that helps a little bit, but they have good depth behind him. So the Vikings will have to block it up. And after a disappointing week against the Bears a couple of weeks ago, hopefully they have the tape on to see what not to do. And Elflein and Bradbury are coming off their best games. In Elflein's case, probably maybe of his career, and Bradbury of his short career thus far as well. So hopefully those two have their confidence sky high and can live up to the task, because it's still one of the best defensive lines in football. They're a little bit more of the run defending type this year, as their stats would suggest, but they can still definitely get after the quarterback. They don't have one huge sack artist, but they have a couple of guys with multiple sacks, including Brandon Graham, their defensive end, probably one of the players to watch. 3 sacks on the year already. You're looking at 2 from Orlando Scandrick, their corner who is out, but another guy who just shows you where they can come from. Then they can usually get at the quarterback with just 4 down linemen. So a lot to be scared of for Vikings fans, but I think this is a good test for our defensive line, and hopefully they can at least come out of it with their heads held high and not what happened in Chicago. And, of course, the number one player for the defensive line is Fletcher Cox, still one of the best defensive tackles in football, and very, very scary. He doesn't have a sack yet on the year, but he is smelling one in Minnesota. So hopefully the Vikings can keep him off Cousins, and hopefully Cousins can keep the ball off the turf. Also, for their secondary, all of those injuries, I don't think they have an answer for Diggs and Thielen. We don't think we'll be running the ball well in this one, but if we do run a decent amount, they average 63 rush yards against them a game. So if we get to 80 yards, that's a good game for the Vikings against the Eagles. So if we can get somewhere in that neighborhood, I don't think we'll have a problem. And our passing game, that should be back-to-back fantastic games for Cousins. I know a good defensive line is a nightmare for Kirk Cousins normally, because it's like, oh no, here comes 3 forced fumbles and probably 2 stupid interceptions. But after the great game last week against the Giants, I think his confidence should be good. I think Stefanski, is figuring out how to get Kirk Cousins rolling, and hopefully with a good game plan and just target these corners. I think Thielen and Diggs must have good games in this one, both of them ideally, and hopefully this is a game where I think they will put Malcolm Jenkins, their stud safety, and also they have Andrew Sendejo. They like to play in their safeties. Both these defenses are similar in that, where it's probably the best safety trios in the NFL. They have those safeties where they'll probably try to double up Thielen and Diggs and say, hey, beat us up the middle or someone else. So this might be a game where Bessie Johnson and our tight ends, Rudolph, throw the ball to Rudolph, and Herb Smith will have to have a good game up the middle to get some of that pressure off Diggs and Thielen. But I think this is a game where they should all dominate, and this should be a really fun game for our passing offense, and hopefully they don't just poop the bed again like they did against the Bears. So This is one of those games where you're going to have to trust Cousins. I don't think you can rely on Dalvin. And we know what happens when you take the training wheels off Cousins. Usually not good results. But hopefully this is one where we can prove everybody wrong and beat the Eagles. We are at home. I think we can do it. The Eagles are dinged up. Don't be stupid against the Bears. This is such a similar game as the Bears. But this one should have different results. So we don't have the Soldier Field curse. It's U.S. Bank. So let's bring it home. Minnesota 31, Eagles 24, and the Vikings are on the way to be the Kings of the North. Give me your score prediction in the comment section down below. We'll see you guys in the next JOZ Vikings video. See you guys then.